Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm sure you're aware the market has been absolutely crazy for the past like 6 months with Pokemon. It can be kind of frustrating. Just looking around, struggling to get sealed products, struggling to find things on the shelves. However, I do think that there are some really awesome buying opportunities right now, especially in the singles market and in the graded slab market. So today I want to talk about those. I want to draw your attention to cards that I think would be good to pick up now or in the next couple of months during this summer lull. So yeah, let's jump right into it and find out what those are. So before I show you guys the cards I think are great buys right now, I do want to caveat a few things. Number one, remember, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Make your own decisions based on your own finances, based on the amount of risk that you're willing to take. All of those sorts of things you have to take into account. You have to take responsibility yourself for your own finances. So these are merely things I think are good buys, but you may have a different opinion. And just be cautious, be aware. I don't have some sort of crystal ball or insider knowledge to know what these cards are going to do in the future. Just wanted to get that caveat out of the way. Right now, before I jump into the cards that I think are good buys, I want to first just show you the price chart of one of the most famous cards in Pokemon's history. The Umbreon VMAX. Obviously, this card has done incredibly well over the years, and it's not at all-time highs, but it is close to its all-time high. I just want to make sure you can see that there's long-term cycles for a card, and there's also these kind of shorter term cycles. You can see where the card's going pulsing up and down. It'll hit like a high where it kind of steepens quickly and then it drops back off, but you'll notice like the new low that it sets is oftentimes higher than the previous low before it, and so you kind of get this stair-stepping motion going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down on its way up. Now, this is not going to happen with every card. Some cards will go up, will come down, and will never recover. One thing I think that's really important about Umbreon VMAX is that it's a highly desirable chase card. So all the cards that I'm talking about today, I think are desirable cards. They may not be as desirable as Umbreon VMAX, but I think they will continue to be desirable cards into the future. I also want to show you that population isn't everything too, because the Umbreon VMAX has 17,000 copies in PSA 10. That's about a 70-ish% gem rate. So it's not a hard to grade card, and there are a lot of copies out there, but it still holds this incredible price, PSA 10 about 2,500, because there's just so many people that want it. So let's just keep that in our mind as we go and we look at some of these other cards and we try to kind of predict what could happen to them in the future. I also want to draw your attention to an example of a card that I don't think is a good time to buy, and that would be something like this Lily's Clefairy. First of all, the set is just way too brand new. If you look at the chart here, it is trending down. The trend is slowing, it looks like. It looks like it's not quite as steep here towards the end, but I still think there's room for this card to continue downward, and especially in the PSA 10. The PSA 10 price really hasn't had its chance to fall off. I think we're still waiting for a lot of those initial copies to flood the market in the next 2-3 months or so. So you can be on the lookout for that when those first copies hit. But I think, especially with a new set like this, with a lot of potential reprints coming, I wouldn't touch a lot of the cards in Journey Together now personally. All right, so what are some cards that are great buys right now? Well, the first one, I think the Charizard EX from 151. 151 I think is on probably its last year of reprinting. I don't know how much more they'll print this year. I just think obviously Scarlet and Violet 151 is always going to be a phenomenal, desirable set going forward. For me, I absolutely love it. You've watched me open it on this channel. I think a lot of people love it. It's a very nostalgic set. This is not my favorite Charizard. I'll just be honest. It's Charizard's kind of tiny in it. That being said, the market does love this Charizard, and recently it was at a high. The PSA 10 price is $900. Now it's down to under $700, and then the raw price now is down under $200. So they both seem to have found a new shelf. It seems like a good time to buy. I would be on the lookout for this one over the next, month or two, or maybe even now if you're ready to pull the trigger on this one. I'm struggling to pull the trigger on the PSA 10 copy of this because I always struggle to spend $700 on a slab, unless it's something like vintage or old or like, truly rare. But I will show you right here, there's a lot of copies of this Charizard. There's 18,000 PSA 10s, which is astonishingly high. So it's actually surpassed Umbreon VMAX in the number of copies. but it only has, I think that's like a 35, what is that, 35 or 40% gem rate, somewhere in there. So not a high gem rate, has a lower gem rate than Umbreon VMAX. It is important to keep that in mind, but there are more copies. I don't think that this card is going to be 2,500 in a few years, but it probably could easily go back up to 1,000, 1,200, maybe 3 or 4 years from now. Maybe it hits 15. I don't know. It's kind of hard to predict. And of course, we're talking about the PSA 10 copy. I could see the raw copy staying stagnant, maybe longer. Really hard to predict. But yeah, there you go. If you want something a little lower risk, I think the Blastoise EX and the Venusaur EX are great buys right now. The PSA 10 price down has gone from $337 down to $260. I actually just recently picked this one up, finally added it in PSA 10. I've been waiting for this card to come down a little bit. I think it could come down a little bit more. So if you're not in a hurry over the next couple of months, I think you could potentially even get a better deal. Obviously, it's been much lower than that in the past. I just don't see it really returning to that personally. And it's got about a similar gem rate to that Charizard. The Venusaur EX also, I think, is an excellent buy. It's coming down a little harder than the Blastoise. You could potentially wait and see a little bit better buys, but it's been hovering right between that like 210 to 240-ish range mostly. And this 210, I think I might have actually got this one, to be honest. I got 2 copies actually, and one of them pretty cheap under market. But I think right about now, and then over the next month or two, during the summer slump, which we usually, if you're kind of new to the hobby, usually the summer is kind of lower, and then things pick back up in the fall, and especially around Black Friday and the holidays, things usually start to pick up a lot. So this could be a really good time to get these. It could potentially be the last call for these prices. You never really know, but I could see 151 phasing out and these all jumping up a lot over the next year or two. They do have high pops, but they all are also very, very desirable cards and very popular Pokemon. I also picked up the Squirtle. I've been looking for this one for a long time. It finally corrected down quite a ways to a point that I felt comfortable with. Could go down a little bit further, but it still looks to me like it's shallowing out right now. Price charting is always usually like a couple weeks behind anyway. But yeah, I picked up a beautiful copy of this Squirtle illustration rare. This is my favorite illustration rare from the set. I think the Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and then also even like this Pikachu are all starting to look pretty good right now. Just look at the charts yourself. I didn't actually check Charmander or Bulbasaur's chart, but I would imagine they look pretty similar. Notice with the Squirtle, I wanted to point out to you, the Squirtle actually has quite a bit lower population than the SIRs. There's 6,000, but there's 19,000 total that have been graded. So the Squirtle actually has a lower gem rate than the SIRs, which makes sense. A lot of times these non-textured cards, the IRs usually have pretty low gem rates. I want to say this is about 31 or 32%, something like that. So very low gem rate, hard card to grade, beautiful card. I think whether you want to pick it up in raw or PSA condition, I think it's a good time to pick up Squirtle. And I do think this one will do well long term. It's beautiful card, popular Pokemon. Mitsuhiro Arita, phenomenal artist. He did this one. He also did the Blastoise as well. He did the whole Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise line. I mentioned the Pikachu, this Pikachu from 151, but it's no surprise probably to a lot of you. I think the Surging Sparks Pikachu, I actually think that we've hit the time to buy. This card has settled down here and it's just hovered right around that $290 range, a little bit below, for quite a while. I'm pretty strongly looking at picking this one up. I just can't figure out if I want to get this raw copy for about $290 or if I want to take the gamble on the PSA copy. The PSA copy seems to still be kind of trending down, but it does seem to be settling right around this $700. Again, I have a hard time spending $700, so I may just pick up a raw copy or two. But I do believe in this card. I think this card can do well. I wouldn't be surprised if it performs similarly to like Gengar VMAX from Fusion Strike in the Sword and Shield era, or like Giratina V. I think it's going to be up there with those cards as like one of those highly desirable cards from the Scarlet and Violet era. And so I really honestly think this is a good time to buy this one, guys. I need to jump on this one quickly because I wouldn't be surprised if it rebounds this fall a little bit. there is potentially a lot more surging coming. So just realize there's a risk that this $300 raw card could go down to even $200 if we get a lot more printing. I still don't know if that's going to necessarily matter over the long term. I think it's a strong enough card, a strong enough chase, desirable enough Pokemon that if your mindset is long term and you're thinking of holding this for 3, 5, 10 years, I think you're not going to be disappointed that you bought now. Just my 2 cents. Please feel free to disagree with me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I do think that this is not a bad time to buy the Pikachu from Surging Sparks. All right, I need to move along. I'm taking too much time here. This is a card I actually wouldn't buy quite yet. You can tell that the decline on the Latias from Surging Sparks has been pretty steep. I still think it could keep going down just based on the trajectory of this card. I do wonder if it maybe got a little bit overhyped from the fact that the Lovebirds card, the one with Latias and Latios forming a heart from Sun and Moon, has done so well. Maybe people just automatically assume this one would. I would probably wait on Latias, just my 2 cents. Melodic, I went ahead and bit the bullet and bought a couple PSA 10 copies, actually, kind of dollar cost averaged my way down. I should have waited because I bought them right around here-ish. And as you can tell, they went and they bottomed out. I think right about now, we're actually at a great time to get the PSA 10 copy. The raw could keep going down a little bit more. You could watch over the next couple months. I don't think you're in a hurry to buy it like today, but watch over the next couple months, maybe see what happens. If you start to see it start to rise, maybe you might want to snap buy. It's tough. Again, we don't really know what they're going to do. Pokemon's going to do with Surging Sparks. They could do a lot more reprints, but they've already reprinted Surging Sparks now 1 or 2 times. They haven't been big enough to really make a huge dent on the market. The further we go, the harder it's going to be for Pokemon to go back and truly fill in all of these sets. So, take that for what you will. I love this card. I'm a big Melodic fan. I know there's a decent amount of Melodic fans out there. I would say this is a very strong Melodic card. It's a gorgeous card. It's the only Melodic SIR we've ever gotten. I don't know. I feel good about this one. Let me know if you disagree. I'd love to hear about it. Stereo Edge, this is a very popular card from this set. Everybody was really hyped up on this one, and it's dropped way down. It's down to $18 now. The graded copy is also dropped way down. Now it's 92. I think, and it's flattened out right here. This is a lot of times what you want to look for is this flattening effect. I think this could be a good time to get Stereo Edge, honestly. I really do. And I'd say the raw copy is probably lower risk. But I think both of these, could they see more drops or more rises and drops and more, volatility over the next year or two while it's Surging Sparks is still being printed? Yeah. I still think long-term though, these are looking good. And a lot of times that 6 month to 8 to 9 month time after a set comes out ends up being the best time to buy. Sometimes you never quite see those lows again. Again, there's no guarantees. It doesn't always follow that. But I do think if you were wanting to pick up Stereo Edge, I think this is a good time to buy. All right, let's go to part 2 here. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur from Stellar Crown has gotten obliterated quite a bit recently. It went up from a high of almost 70 back down to $45. The lowest it's ever been was around 31. That was pretty much right at right after release. I wouldn't expect us to see that price again. You can tell that we're creating this flattening shape on the graph, which to me tells me that this is probably the new bottom for this card. So I think this is probably a great time to get the Bulbasaur. The PSA 10 copy also seems to be flattening out right around 150. Squirtle could continue down. So maybe on the raw Squirtle card from Stellar Crown, maybe you give that one a little bit more time, watch it over the next couple of months. We might hit the bottom here in the next couple of months. The PSA 10 price though seems to be pretty bottomed out at 175. I don't think either one of these would be bad buys personally, especially if you have a long-term mindset. The Persian from Shrouded Fable, beautiful card, spiked way up to $75, has come all the way back down to 40. The lowest this card ever was 21, so it is double what it was before. I don't know though. This is a tough one because obviously Team Rocket is going to be affecting this a little bit. The Destined Rivals set. This doesn't look like it's quite hit its bottom. I think this is one worth maybe watching for the next couple of months. If you're going to buy it raw, probably will find its bottom here soon. So I just wanted to at least draw your attention to it. But you may just decide, hey, it's low enough. I'm ready to buy. Great. The PSA 10 copy is also still trending down. You can see it hasn't flattened out yet. But again, I would keep an eye on it because I think we could see the bottom very quickly on this Persian. So keep an eye on that one. The Houndoom is doing a very similar trend right now. Its PSA 10 is also trending down. I love this card, guys. This is such a cool Houndoom. I finally pulled the trigger on this one a little while ago, so I definitely didn't catch the bottom. Sometimes you get faked out. You can tell right here, this almost looked like it was forming a bottom up at this plateau, and then it's gone down again. I would keep your eye on this one over the next couple of months. I think the next couple of months could be the best time to buy this Houndoom and the Persian if you're looking for those in your collection, or if you want to pick up some as some investments or speculations, I should say. Eevee from Twilight Masquerade is still getting killed from its high as far as the raw card goes. However, its absolute lowest it's ever been was about $40, and right now it's $53. So we got to be getting really close if we even go down that far. You might just decide that it's worth the risk and you buy it, or maybe give it a little bit more time, give it another month, kind of see if it hovers right around in this range. I don't think it would be a bad buy. I think this is obviously Eevee is an incredibly popular Pokemon. This has an Eevee for each of the evolutions in the card, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So one for the 8 evolutions, right? Jolteon, Flareon, Vaporeon, Leafeon, Sylveon, Umbreon, Espeon, Glaceon. Is that 8? Yeah, 8. Wow. Okay. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. I think this card's got a strong future. It's an Eevee card. Everybody's attention right now is on Prismatic. I think this is a better Eevee card than any of them from Prismatic. It's just got traditionally phenomenal art, like the kind of art that's timeless. I think this is a very good card. This is one I need to add. I have not gotten yet. And the PSA 10 price is still trending down a little bit. Might be able to wait a little bit, might be able to watch it in the next couple months. I think it's kind of a similar thing to the 2 Shrouded Fable ones. Watch it over the next month or two if this is a card that you've been wanting to get. But I think, we're like 160 right now. The last plateau was 146. We could be at the plateau right now. This could be the new high before it goes back up. So something to keep in mind. Greninja EX, this is a card I never really liked, if I'm honest with you guys, but the market loves it. So who am I to disagree with the market? This card has come down a lot from its high. It was at 410 and now it's all the way down to 288. It looks like it could trend a little bit, but I don't know. It's kind of settled in this range, like right here where it started trending down, it was 300. Now it's at 290. So it's not moving a lot. It's slowed down right there in that 290 to 300. I think 300-ish is probably its lower bound. It could go a little bit lower. But I think if this is a card that you've been holding off to get and you really want it in your collection, it's probably not a bad idea to buy this. We could see reprints of Twilight Masquerade. I don't see how they're going to be able to churn out a lot. PSA 10 wise, it also seems to have, kind of slowed down here and plateaued out right around this 630 range. The PSA pop for this is only 6,500 out of 13,000. So you don't need as much interest in this card because it's got a lower population than like the Charizard from 151 or the Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies. But I would also argue it's not as strong of a card as those two either, but I could see this being the new low for it. So take that, for what it's worth. Again, I'm not recommending you have to buy it. I just pulled the trigger on a Raging Bull. I managed to snag a PSA 10 at a really good auction price. And I forgot to put up the PSA 10 chart on here. Let me do that. So this card is a card to me. I think this is the strongest card from Temporal Forces personally. I know Iron Thorns was really popular when it first came out among players, but that card has you know, since fallen by the wayside for player favor. So right now we're at about 220 for a PSA 10. I managed to snag one for like 193 on an auction. That was awesome. But I've been watching this card for a while because I remember back when I was at Pasadena. No, not Pasadena. I was in Vegas. I was front row card show. I remember seeing these for 325 and just being like, that's too expensive. I think it's got to come down. That was after a big rise. I think we've probably found its new floor. It's probably right around 200-ish, I would guess. I'm going to guess it's going to probably stay around there for the next couple of months and then probably slowly rise in the fall. Could be wrong, but I think this is a great time to buy this card if you're looking for a PSA 10, or even if you're looking for the raw. The raw right now is 78. It could go a little bit lower on the raw, so maybe if it's the raw, maybe watch it for the next couple of months. But overall, I think over the long term, you're not going to be disappointed if you bought it at this price. It's a beautiful card. Raging Bolt was a Pokemon that I talked smack on when I saw the design revealed. Not this card, but the Pokemon itself. I was like, that's so stupid. Why are we making this long neck version of Raikou with a freaking cloud floating in its head? And I still don't love the design of this Pokemon. However, I love this card. And this is an example I gave. I did a video on art that changed my mind. And this is an example where the art on this card is so good, and the story that it kind of pulls you into is so good that it makes me, it kind of overrides what I feel about the Pokemon, or it makes me more interested in the Pokemon. And this whole kind of African Sahara style look to it, and then you've got like the palm trees in the background, and you've got the big plateaus going off into the distance, the purple that's not only in the sky but also in the shades of the farther back plateaus. Really beautiful artistic touch. The artist also incorporated purple in the shadow of the plants in the foreground. Phenomenal art on this card. So really excited to get this one in my collection personally. If this is one you've been looking for, I think this is a great card to get. I think this will probably always, personally, I think this will always be the chase card for Temporal Forces going forward. I think it's cemented itself as that way. It's really cool. It's unique. It's interesting. Yeah. So also, while we're on Temporal Forces, Gastly has come down. It seems to be plateauing right here in like the $35 to $38 range for the raw, and the PSA 10 also seems to be plateauing around $230. I think this is a good time to pick up Gastly. I mean, come on guys, like, this is a beautiful card. It's got Gengar and Haunter and Gastly all on the card together. I don't know of any other Pokemon cards that have the three of them together. There's even a bonus Meowth here in the foreground. I love how this whole card is different shades of purples and blues. And then with the yellow as like the light pouring out. I think the art itself is phenomenal. I love the whole Gengar line. All of them from Gastly, Haunter, and Gengar. I like all of them. So even though this is not a Gengar card, I still think this, you know, being the fact that it features Gengar, it features Haunter, two very popular Pokemon, all together, I think this is a winner. I really do. I have two of these in PSA 10. I did manage to buy my other PSA 10 back on this lower rung, so I'm already up 2x from that one. But I really believe in this card long term. I think that Gengar carries a lot of strength, and I think this is a beautiful illustration rare. So if you haven't gotten this one yet, maybe take a look at that. I wanted to point out too, this only has 3,373 copies in PSA 10 out of 8,800. That's pretty low pop for a more modern card compared to a lot of these other bigger chase cards. I can tell you right now, having graded one of these myself and having gone through a lot of raw copies trying to find a graded copy, it is very tough to find a gradable copy. Although Temporal Forces had decently clean printing to an extent, like it didn't seem to have a lot of print lines, there was a lot of white corners on a lot of these cards, and this card, well, really a lot of the IRs in general from Temporal Forces really suffered from being off center. So the centering on these Gastlys was horrible. So it was very hard to find one that was centered well enough for a PSA 10. Just looking at that population, knowing the popularity of this card, I think this could be a really like a sleeper pick right now, especially in a PSA 10. PSA 10 is going to, you know, take the advantage from that poor centering, the poor quality control. I think it could be a really good buy right now if you're looking for the PSA 10. All right, last I want to talk about Mew EX and the Charizard EX from Paldean Fates. I'm a little torn on this card. It does look like it's still potentially trending down, but it's kind of flattened out. This is probably its new low. I don't really understand why this card is as popular as it is. I've never been that big of a fan. I think it's a cool card, but now that it's gotten to these price levels, for me as a collector, I have a hard time kind of justifying buying it. That being said, it has the Bubble Mew name. It's got that nickname. It's recognizable. It's been highly desirable. It will be remembered as one of the cards that pumped hard during this bull run. So I think all of those things will play into its long-term strength as a chase card. So I think this could be a very good card to pick up. If you want to pick up a raw one, I think we're probably right around the bottom. Maybe watch out over the next couple months over the summer. And then PSA 10 wise, it looks like we've already hit the bottom. We may even be starting to go up a little bit. Again, I have a hard time spending that $700 to $800 range on a PSA 10 on a modern card. Could we see more Paldean Fates? Sure, it's possible. The only thing that makes me think that it's probably unlikely is that there's just so much stuff that Pokemon has to print right now that Paldean Fates may not be, you know, the highest priority to them. And they kind of already released a lot of waves of Paldean Fates after it came out, even as much as like probably 9 months or so later. So I don't know. This one I think is a little riskier, especially in a 10. But I also could see this card in a few years from now being $1,500 in a PSA 10. And that's all going back and saying, why didn't we buy multiple copies? So it's tough. I don't think it's as strong as an Umbreon VMAX. It definitely doesn't have the pull rate of an Umbreon VMAX, but probably one worth looking into. Maybe you had another second opinion besides just mine. I'm a little iffy about this one. I'm not personally picking this one up, but I think if this is a card that you really want in your collection and you've been dying to get it, now could be a good time to get it. Charizard EX though, a little different. It's still trending down. I would hold off on this one. Keep watching this chart, watch the price trend over the next couple months and see what happens. So that is what I've got for you guys today. I know that was a lot of cards, but I kind of wanted to go over a bunch that I thought were good buys, maybe some that look like they're getting close to being good buys. I hope that was useful information for you, whether you're collecting or investing. I know it's been rough out there. Everything's really expensive, but hopefully some of these cards kind of coming down is exciting for you. Might be a good time to pick up some of these singles that you've really wanted in your collection. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my takes. I'm always open, open to that criticism. I would love to have an open dialogue with you guys down in the comments. I'd love to hear other people's opinions and perspectives. If there's a card that you think should have been mentioned or listed here, let me know. I would love to hear about it as well. And if you enjoyed this content, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, leave me a comment. I really appreciate it. Hit the notification bell and you can be notified when I drop another video. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.